Dr. Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, 1 year on from the 2014 general election, I need a basic question answered. What on earth does the Labor Party actually stand for? Because I've never witnessed in 25 years a Labor Party that is so rudderless, so uncertain as to what it believes in, what it stands for, so leaderless and being all over the paddock on the issues that matter. Week after week, we hear the Labor Party speaking out of both sides of their mouth and engaged in doublespeak. Let's just take the last week. Andrew Little yesterday. Governments must not run deficits. Criticised the Prime Minister for some of the deficits that we ran post the global financial crisis. Yet on Sunday, we had Grant Robertson saying, I think the government should run some more deficits. So can Labor tell me, are you for deficits or are you against deficits? And then we come to the issue of immigration. Andrew Little, for the last 2 weeks, has been saying, Labor, New Zealand needs to take more migrants. And I thought that was a genuinely held view from the Labor opposition. And then Grant Robertson turns up, he forgot to tell Grant Robertson on Sunday morning on Q&A saying, Labor's policy is to reduce the number of migrants, and I'd love to know their position. Now, just after the general election, Andrew Little said, no, Labor's opposed to a capital gains tax. Well, then why is it every single debate I have with Phil Twyford on housing, he says we need to address supply, we need a capital gains tax. So can Labor say where they stand on that issue? Mr. Speaker, and then I come to the issue of housing. And on housing, I've heard Mr. Phil Twyford say that interest rates going up is bad. And then when interest rates go down, he says it's bad. When we increase housing supply, he says that's bad. Again, they are all over the paddock. And then we come to education. We have the issue of charter schools. And we hear Labor saying repeatedly in this House, charter schools are bad. And then we have Labor members hopping off to raise funds for charter schools and whangarei and saying that they are good. And then we have even more extraordinary this week, Mr. Speaker. I thought Labor was opposed to private provision of social services. That's what I've heard in this House. And then I turn the radio on Monday morning and I have a Labor MP decrying the Minister of Education for closing the Pacific Christian School for non-performance and saying we should be keeping it open. And again, I have to say, I'm confused. But the one thing I thought that Labor always has stood for is inclusiveness. If there was any party in this parliament that I thought stood up for people not being based on the basis of race, I thought it was the Labor Party. I thought it was right at their core that they would not be playing racial games with issues. And yet then we have the leader in Phil Twyford running their campaign of blaming the housing issue on people with Chinese-sounding names. It was so bad, we had Winston Peters blushing. You see, Labor's problem is that they've ripped up on all of their core values. And I come finally to the flag. At the election, Labor said, and I read out word for word, the time has come for change, they said. They said there should be a referendum on a new flag. Well, I say to Mr. Little, why is it that voters can't trust you? It's because only 1 year ago you went to voters with a policy and you're reversing on it. And I say with respect to Red Peak, I have to say the Prime Minister's been very generous. He said if Labor wants to honour its policy and support the referendum, well, he'll go the extra mile. We'll include the Red Peak flag on the referendum, but all Labor has to do is stand for what it stood for just 12 months ago. And so my plea, Mr. Carter, can someone Anyone, anywhere, please tell me, what does Labor stand for?